So I recently went to see Sound of Freedom. It was actually a good movie. Good movie. Go check it out if you get a chance. And it's interesting. If you saw the movie, this is not a spoiler, but it just talks about one scene, but it's not a spoiler. There's a casting director that kind of like goes and takes the kids. But considering I was an actor for so long, that whole scene, the red flags were already there because of what I grew up with, not what I grew up with, what I experienced. All right, that's poor wording too. What I was aware of in the industry. Yeah, best way to put it is what I was aware of in the industry, where it's like, I always knew there was scams. There was a ton of scams in the industry. Use this photographer, go to this casting director, take these classes, do this, do that. Like pay to play, basically. That's what it was, where I encountered a ton of scams in the industry about pay to play. But while I was watching the movie and I saw the casting scene with the kids and all that, it made me think about the time that my little sister, there's a huge gap between us. There's a 19-year age gap between us. She heard on the radio, oh, you want to be a Disney star? Come to this audition, do this, do that. They were all over the radio. This is back in New York City back in the day. And I was still fully acting at this point. Yeah, come to this audition, usually you submit a headshot, a resume, and you're invited, but, this was like, oh, just show up and we'll see if you get it. I already know how that was going to work, and I told her how the whole thing was going to play out. I said, look, they're going to like you. Like, my sister's pretty, I was like, they're gonna like you. They're gonna say you have model potential. They're gonna say you have acting potential. They say you have this. They say you have that. Blah blah blah. Right? And I was like, what they're gonna do at the end, after they get you all hyped up, is they're gonna sell you on a photo package, and they're gonna try to sell you on some classes. They're gonna try to sell you on something else. And my dad was gonna go to the audition with her and everything. And I actually tagged along too, and my wife, because we were both actors. So I was like, I was telling my little sister this morning, I was like, but look, if you still want to go, I will go with you. We'll go. I won't say anything. I'll stay shut. I'll let them pitch their thing, but this is how it's going to go down. Just so she can be aware that it's a scam, But I didn't want her to like kind of live through that whole situation, but knowing that she was guarded there by me, my dad, and my wife. So we're at the audition, right? And I actually wrote this down, so if you see me like kind of back and forth reading, that's because I actually posted this. This whole thing happened June 4th, 2013. So, wow, this was over 10 years ago. All right, so I'm gonna read it to you. Actually, just make it I'll make it a little easier. It's on my website because I was an actor, so it's on my website where I have all my acting stuff. And it was a post I put on my website. The title of it was "Hero?" And this is all my words. So I've been acting for quite a while now, and recently my little sister met someone who basically said she was in the industry, blah blah. All right, I thought it was she heard on the Disney thing. That was a different audition. But this one is the person, okay? Same thing like Sound of Freedom. Anyway, met someone who basically said she was in the industry, blah, blah, wanted to cast her in some things, blah, blah. Telling my little sister about scams in the industry for years, and I was, pretty proud a couple months back that she went to one that turned out to be a scam, and she recognized it instantly. She went with my dad to that one. So fast forward to today, which was June, at the time of writing this was June 4th, 2013. She had a modeling audition for representation with the talent management company, and I decided to tag along. We go into said audition, and the rep goes about her business, introducing herself, the company, what they do, what they'll do for what they do for their clients, and so on. Boom, right? After about 10 minutes of her talking, where she, and I'm not joking here, was pointing out their mirrors, couches, and inanimate objects in popular videos, photos, and popular videos and photos, as opposed to her living, breathing clients. She started asking my sister some questions. So once my sister answered her questions, she started showing us some kids in cool photos. Sound of Freedom again, right? Cool photos, possibly like magazine spreads. I guess they were pulled from magazine spreads, but they were so generic. It was too generic to tell. They were cool photos though. And I asked her, are any of those kids in your photos your clients? And what did she respond? No. So something fishy, methinks, right? Finally, she gets to the part that I was waiting for, so she goes, and we can do all this if you pay for one of our packages. Price range was $450 to $2,600. So I smile. You know me, I'm a troll. I've always been a troll. I troll in everything that I do. I don't care. Like this, that's who I am. I gotta be myself, right? So I smiled. And then to humor myself, I asked her if we can get the headshots. This is all former acting knowledge that you know how to go about it. So I asked her if we can get the headshots done elsewhere and bring them in, and she says no. I asked not even if we get the rights to our photos, because that was a big argument they used to say at the time. Not even if we get the rights to our photos. She says no because it's a marketing issue. So I asked, you said you were a talent management company, correct? She replies, yes. So I asked, and this is thanks to Phil Brock. I'm still shouting him out. I don't know what's he doing now because I'm not acting anymore, so I don't know if he's still part of this, but shout out to Phil Brock, who is the president of the Talent Managers Association, who I met and spoke with regarding career stuff while I was living in LA, right? So I asked her, do you belong to the Talent Managers Association? And she looks at me and says, what's that? Nope. I continue with my questioning. I said, you said you don't take a percentage of your client's booking as payment. Usually managers get 15%. She replies, no. If you sign a TV show contract with Disney through us, they take commission. I've never heard of this, and if I'm wrong, please someone bring it to my attention, but I seriously don't think I am. So how do they make money? Okay, so she was saying that if we book a Disney cartoon, if we sign a Disney show with them, Disney takes the commission. That doesn't make sense, right? I even said for somebody correct me, nobody corrected me at that time. So, and if they're a company, right? If they're a company, how do they make their money if they don't take commission on the talent bookings? Because that just doesn't add up. Finally, after hearing all these things she said and a bunch of red flags going up in my head, I tell her, this is not something that we're interested in. And she became angry and she said, oh, do you have representation? Because I told her I was an actor. Do you have representation? Do you know who our photographers are? And a whole bunch of other stuff, right? A whole bunch of other like negative questions. So again, me being a troll, but also it was 2013, me being in the industry for 13 years at that point, I was like, all right, you basically want to play, let's play. So I told her how long I was acting, who was and is repping me at the time, my credits, and a shitload more, all out of defense, because that's who I am. Her jaw dropped. She began stuttering, which I'm doing right now, but she began stuttering, and I told her that I was concerned because she has so many red flags, there's so many red flags going off my head, but this just bothered her, and that bothered her even more when I said it. So there are a ton of agencies out there who will nickel and dime you, but the legit ones, the legit ones will let you bring in outside photos and not force you to use their over $2,000 photographer or force you to take classes at their specific studio. They will get their percentages the proper way, right? So it's like they want you to get better. You want to take an acting class with some other person, take the acting class. They just want you to get better so you can book more. You want to get photos, you want to go to your friend that takes phenomenal photos, go do that. Just make sure they look right. They get the proper photos. Anyway, I picked up a lot of knowledge work in this industry as long as I have. And yes, you should pay for acting classes, which I did at times. You should pay for headshots, which I did, comp cards, etc. Do it all at your discretion. But when it starts to look like or even turns out that you have to pay to play, that's not the way to go about it. That's not the way to go about it. And there was horror stories I heard of people getting screwed out of their last dollar with all the promise of fame on a great TV show or popular kids network or some fancy magazine. And when you go into audition, it's just that. It's an audition. They want to see what you have, a look, a style of acting, a voice, something specific. They make money off of your talent. They look for jobs for you. They look for jobs so you can get hired for, so they can make money. So when you go in, they tell you all the good things they have done and throw a bunch of prices your way with the promise of fame, all without seeing what you have to offer. Hey, take my advice, thank them, and tell them it's not for you to walk away. Because if they're not doing a monologue, then I ask you to do a monologue, do something, right? Then it's BS. They're trying to game you. Anyway, ending out what I wrote. I hope at the very least this post can help someone who has questions about an audition or the industry itself find a bit of clarity in their situation. I know that there are plenty of other stories similar to this and even worse on the internet. Look them up and go in well informed. So the Sound of Freedom thing, right? It makes me think, did I potentially stop my sister from experiencing that? I wouldn't have left her at the audition. That's just not happening. They try to tell me, no, you can't do that. You can't be here. Nah, bro, that's not how it's working. That's not how it's working. It's not how it's working. Yeah, I wouldn't have left her, but it's there's so many industry scams when I was acting that I came across that after seeing this movie, I was I knew about the money scams, but I didn't think about the trafficking scams, and that fucking breaks my heart. That breaks my heart. So, stage parents, I no longer act. I do YouTube now. This is my thing. You watching me on here, right? This is my own little Hollywood. But for you stage parents, don't fucking leave your kids alone in an audition with a stranger. I don't care if the fucking stranger is Steven Spielberg. Don't leave your kids alone. You hear me? You be with them at all times. Look at the horror stories. Read up on Drew Barrymore. Read up on Lindsay Lohan. Read up on Corey Haim. Read up on all of them. Read up on Elijah Wood, right? Fucking Frodo, right? I don't have anything against Frodo, but his mom went out of her way when he was a kid actor to not let him go to any of the parties, not let him be alone. And he said this in interviews. You can find interviews all over. He said this in interviews where it's like, my mom didn't let me go to his parties, and she saved me. Look at the fates that his friends suffer. His friends, Corey Haim, right? I believe Corey Haim's friend. At the hands of all these other Hollywood people. It's even Macaulay Culkin. Go look up Joe Rogan's Macaulay Culkin interview, right? Joe Rogan, the GRE podcast. He had the one with Macaulay Culkin, where he's talking about he's living in France. He talks about some ill shit on that one. But go watch that one. This is wild, man. Like, this is wild. But stage parents, please don't leave your kids alone. You gotta be with them at all times. All times. Like, I was offered a couch casting. My wife was offered a couch casting, and I was offered it both from men and women, I think my wife was only offered for men, but probably women too, but I know of at least one guy. Somebody's always trying to bend you over or trying to get you to, suck one off to get somewhere in life, right? Look at Lana Del Rey's song, Fuck My Way Up to the Top, right? She talked about sleeping with all these people, and it got her nowhere. It's legit in the industry. It's legit. Again, I no longer act, so I can speak freely right now without having to worry about somebody trying to murk my career on, what they're doing within the industry. And we know, the whole, like, I tell people this all the time. They're like, why do you stop acting and all that stuff? And it's like, I just didn't have it. I wasn't gonna bend over. I wasn't gonna do all this stuff to make it. I didn't give it my all. Like, I failed. I looked at as me going after Hollywood as a failure, and I'm okay with that. In retrospect, I'm okay with that. I failed in Hollywood, but like, I can say this stuff now because I don't have to worry about anybody trying to murk my career or anything. It's nice to see that you have groups like Angel Studios, and I don't know what their behind the scenes network is. It could legit be like the rest of Hollywood, where they all banging each other and all that stuff. I hope not, because they're doing good stuff. They're doing Sound of Freedom. They're doing Chosen, right? I believe that they're Chosen. And it's faith-based. It's Christianity-based. I'm with that. I'm for that. And, I hope for the best for that studio, that they don't have the same, horribleness that Hollywood is plaguing them with, is being plagued with. But stage parents, again, I'm reiterating for the third time, don't leave your kids alone. Go to the audition with them. Be with them on set. You need to be their assistant, their right-hand person. You don't leave your kid alone. You got that? And you YouTubers too, the big YouTubers, the huge YouTubers that you kind of like built it up for your kids, or your kid is the big YouTube star, but you're the parent. Don't leave your kids alone. Focus up. Do that, all right? I'm gonna catch you next time. Peace. Right? That's what I say. I say peace. I'm gonna say peace. I'm gonna say deuces. I'm gonna say later. All right.